What's going on, Spittin Chiclets fans? Biz here. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the ECHL Player Relief Fund interview series. And this one is brought to you by Can-I Brands, who is supporting your everyday health and wellness through their CBD products. Not only does Can-I Brands make product that personally helped me, but they have kindly donated $10,000 to the ECHL Player Relief Fund and will also be donating 10% of all sales through our channels to the ECHL Player Relief Fund using the BIZ30 promo code. That gives you a 30% discount on products across the entire website. And if you want to put more money in your pocket, head to canibrands.com and check out the Champions program under the Ambassadors tab. We know times are not easy right now, so we're trying to give you guys as much content as we can. So we hope you enjoy this interview. And please, stay safe. And once again, thank you to Can-I Brands.
What a pleasure. You know, if that I'm doing the intro, we have a special guest.
Yep.
This is a guy who at the end of this intro, I will tell you something very funny he said to me my rookie year. But before that, we'll go through this career. Stanley Cup champion, 1993. The Montreal Canadiens won 10 games in overtime. He scored 2 of the goals. Thank you. Olympic silver medalist in 2002, where he had 6 goals in 6 games. Thanks for coming. Won the World Cup in 1996, an enormous win for USA Hockey. I remember watching it. One of the premier power forwards throughout the 90s, in which he scored over 400 goals in his career, 260 biz in a 6-year span. How's that for a 6-year run?
How are you?
2-time winner of the Bud Light Plus Minus Trophy. No wonder it's named Bud Light. Johnny Lax won it. And in my rookie year, told me, "You're talking way too much, Ryan." Johnny LeClair.
Great
Thanks
stuff.
for joining
Great
the podcast.
stuff.
Oh, it's awesome to be here, guys. Thanks.
So you retired what? How many years ago now?
1 year with you put me on the bench forever.
That was a quick end.
Sped it
That
up.
was a quick end. Well, you've been in Philly ever since. You still live here, obviously.
Yeah, so 06. When I met you guys in Pittsburgh, my family actually didn't come. They stayed here in Philly.
Yep.
I took the off days. I'd come back and forth. And then when I was done, kids were in school. We had a pretty good lifestyle outside of hockey here in Philly. And, we've been living outside of Philly here for the last 15, 17 years.
Well, I didn't mention that from Vermont, St. Albans, Vermont. Ever go back there or anything? Or is that kind of...
Yeah, I do. I think Vermont's a great place to go back.
it's
my
beautiful.
mom's still there. My brother and sister's there. It's still home. I enjoy going back. I enjoy where I live, but I enjoy going back.
How often do you get back? Once a year? A couple times a year?
I try to get back a couple times a year. My mom's getting up there a little bit too, and it's just like I said. I still got a lot of friends up there. Whenever I go back, it just seems like not enough time.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. I love it up there.
When I found out we were getting you on the podcast, the last thing I remember about you, I'm like, oh my God, this guy was the biggest asshole in the rebound game that I have ever seen. Now, for those players who play rebound, you know what I'm talking about. For you fans, it's a game where after practice, the guys get to have a little bit of fun. I'd say advantage to the players rather than the goalies. And Marc-Andre Fleury was in net, and the shooter shoots from would you say the hash mark?
In that area,
high and heavy.
And if you were the type of guy to take a slap shot, you would probably usually take a half clapper, which was still kind of rude. If you took a slap shot, John LeClair was tickling the fucking rafters
20 years.
and zipping him by Marc-Andre Fleury's ears. And even Fleury was rattled, but he was so young he couldn't say shit to you.
That was one of the beauties of being older than most of the guys out there. And you got away with a lot. Absolutely.
So you were doing that on purpose.
Honestly, I played with a lot of guys. Fleury's one of the best, and I only played with him for a short time. Flower was awesome. The kid's always smiling, just happy to be there, and he never said anything. So the more you can get away with, the more you'd go. You try that against Patrick, he's going to come out and chop your head off with a stick. But Flower just kind of smiled and went with it. So just took what I got.
Patrick as in Patrick Waugh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, fuck.
Yeah,
you ain't messing with Patrick Waugh.
So he's fit for a straitjacket. Let's talk about that.
I got a good story with Patrick. So Craig Conroy's playing in the Fredericton. He gets called up first practice, and he zips one right by Patrick's ear. Patrick comes skating out and just fucking chops him right in the ankles. It's like, welcome to the big show, kid. It's like, just
below the waist, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
So it wasn't even like it hit him in the head. It just scored on him.
No, I think it went over the bar, but it was it was high. It was just, he's our starting goaltender. It's below the waist, and that's how it goes. That was kind of an unwritten rule. Everybody kind of knew.
What was he like on a game day? Could you talk to Patty?
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty normal. I mean, obviously, with the goalie, the closer you get to the game, the less you stay away from him and stuff like that. But, he just normal guy, easy to talk to, really one of the guys. And, honestly, never met a competitor like him. I mean, that guy wanted to win at all costs, and I tell you what, his fire to win is something.
Did that
else.
translate to maybe the card table on the plane, or was he strictly competitive in the hockey world?
Patrick's competitive in everything he does. I know the golf course extremely competitive when he gets out there. Not so sure about the cards. I wasn't involved with that part of the things with him, but he's competitive in whatever he does.
Well, when you played with him, you guys were probably still flying commercial, right? Was that already private?
For parts where we were, yeah, we were Air Canada to the West Coast trip.
That is crazy.
Yeah,
Still smoking on planes.
Yeah, center seat for 4 hours. It was fun.
91, 92, that's what I'm looking at your rookie year. I mean, who are some of the guys that when you think of your first year in the NHL, like, they're kind of how I think about you? You know, like a veteran who played so long that right when you came in, you're like, oh, this is a legend.
I mean, that team that I came in with in 91, 92, we had a good group of guys there. I had some, not so much older guys, but guys that were older than me that were still kind of young and hung out with, like, Shane Corson, Mike Keane, Lyle Oldline. Those guys were still in Montreal, and they kind of showed me around a little bit, showed me the places to go to church and where to donate clothes, that kind of stuff.
A lot of churches in Montreal.
Yeah, tons.
And then then you had the older guys like a Mike McPhee, Brian Screwlin, Guy Carboneau. Those guys really kind of taught you what it's like to be a pro. And I think, for me, I felt really fortunate that I had a chance to come into Montreal. The history, the class that organization had, the way they groom people. Montreal does groom hockey players differently, I think, than a lot of other organizations. At least back then. When I got out, things kind of, Mr. Corey left and things have been different. And I don't know now as much as I do.
What do you mean by that? Like the way that they would force you to carry yourself off the ice, the way you would be, where you would show up to the rink, and the way you would train, and
it was an aura about it. I mean, you walk in that locker room, you see all the Hall of Famers in there, from the Rocket to Belleville to all those guys. John Belleville would pop in every once in a while and just talk to you. I mean, there's not a nicer man that I've ever met than John Belleville. There's just everything they did was done with class, and how you respect I know every team respects the crest and all that stuff, but with the history they had and the respect that they had, it went a long way.
Like the locker room, even feels like sacred. It sounds goofy, but it's true.
It kind of was. I mean, the old Forum, that locker room there, it was just it was a cathedral, it was a museum.
Guy Carboneau going into the Hall of Fame, I think, in a couple weeks. Like I'm assuming you have some crazy memories of seeing that guy compete and just play on both sides of the ice.
Yeah, I mean, Carbo was a great captain. He really was. He level-headed about everything he does. Everything was thought out, and just such a smart hockey player. When you watched him play, he was 2 steps ahead of everybody. There wasn't a guy that he probably couldn't skate with half the guys, but he was so much smarter than them, he could shut him down. Just a great guy.
Whit mentioned in the intro you're a power forward. You were pretty much the golden era of the power forward. You, Shanny, Neely, all those guys. But before you guys, it wasn't really a phrase. You never really heard it. Who did you model your game after to become the power forward you became?
When I was playing in college and growing up a little bit, I played center a lot, so I wasn't really trying to do that stuff. But when
curve?
No, I didn't have that. I didn't have that curve in high school.
That switch.
That's all I remember when I was watching him take Clapper's bar down on
wedges.
Fleury. It was like a Lindstrom, like that. It was gross.
Yeah,
just like this.
Yeah. But as I got into the league a little bit more and watching, the Neelys, a guy like Mike McPhee on my team, or Shane Corson, those guys, how they, they drove the net, used their body and things like that. And then, like I said, we played against Neely a lot in Boston and watched, him dominate, and he dominated us.
He owned Patrick, man.
Yeah, I mean, every game, he had 2 or 3. Just a great player. And then I think it really clicked in is when, after Burnsy left, Jacques Demers came in, and Demers sat down with me and just said, this is how I see you, a Kevin Stevens type player, that you got to start driving the net, you got to start using your size and some of your speed that way.
Did you work on tip drills all the time?
Not really. I mean, I grew up playing all the sports growing up, like any other kid. Played baseball, like you just, maybe I had some hand-eye coordination from that or whatever. But Of course, you're screwing around. You're always trying to tip and knock things around. And but I never I think Pavelski stays out and does $30 or $50 or whatever he does. But I never really kind of did that kind of thing. No, not really.
I just remember being like, I got to try to get him not to tip one, try to shoot as hard as I could, 83 miles an hour. He'd just be tipping everyone. I'm like, all right, this is ridiculous. Can't try to beat this guy anymore.
Standing in the box.
But you were quite the late bloomer in hockey, right? I mean, I'm assuming were you big your whole life and then kind of grew into your body?
Somewhat. I mean, I was always on the bigger side of some of the kids I played against, obviously, but things developed late for me, obviously. In college it was just an average career. High school was different. I mean, with the competition stuff, did okay up till then, but my first couple of years in the league were okay. I mean, I learned a lot, and it took a little bit, but I think obviously there was potential there. I got traded here. I got put in a situation that really helped me, and then to play with those two guys, life was easy.
Well, that brings us into the Legion of Doom line. So you get traded, and then you just go on a run. I mean, the first year you got traded in 94, 95, 37 games, the Flyers, 25 goals. Were you put together right away with those guys, or how did that work?
I was. It was kind of interesting. When I got traded, we came off a road trip from Ottawa, and the next morning Jacques calls me at my apartment at 9 a.m, and the coach calls you. It's like,
that's never good.
It's not a good thing. He's like, can I come see you? And I'm like, well, what is it? I don't want to wait the half an hour to go. He goes, you've been traded. Serge is going to call you, and Bobby Clark will call you.
Oh, you wanted to see in person, though.
That's what I was going to say. That's respectful.
Well, Jacques, there's not a nicer guy than Jacques. I mean, he was awesome. His personality and the way he treats people, he's really a real top-notch guy.
Well, now you have to answer the phone call live.
Yeah.
It's Jacques Demers. He's like, did you say it yet? Did you say it?
Thanks for the cop, Jacques. So Jacques called me, and then Clarky called me a little bit later, and I was playing a little bit of wing and center back then. I just said, where do you see me playing wing or center? And he goes, I envision you playing with Eric right now. And
you're like, yeah, that'll work.
Oh, okay.
All right, I'll be there as soon as I can.
I'm guessing he was the most dominant guy you've ever played with or against, Big E.
He is. I mean, that era, those 5 years before he started getting banged up a little bit, it was something to watch. It really was.
Just to dominate, because the fact he would fight too, and he could beat up anyone.
I mean, he could do it all. Yeah. I mean, he had speed, he had skill, and the guy's an animal. He's so strong.
I think part of it is obviously Lindros Hall of Fame, you with your accolades. The people don't know much about Renberg. I mean, I just know he was a big guy. Even myself, I don't remember his game that well. What was he like as a player?
Rennie was a terrific player. He's highly skilled, skated really well. He had a nice goal-scoring touch to him, and just really fed well. He could read players really well, and got himself open a lot. And honestly, the biggest thing with Rennie that helped a ton is his forechecking was phenomenal. He could get in on guys and anticipate, if it's going up the boards or lift the stick at the right time. He was great at turning pucks over. Really was.
I was going to ask about the Big E, personally, leadership wise. Was he the guy in the locker room who was chatty? Would he just kind of sit and more lead by example?
It was a lot of lead by example with E. Wasn't scared to stand up and say something when he felt the time was right. But it was more, I think he preferred to lead by example more than to be the loud guy yelling and screaming that guy's stuff. And I think each year he got better and better at it. And, he did a good job of leading us, unfortunately not all the way, which is not anybody's fault.
I was going to ask you that too. Do you think that that was hard on him, where he he didn't? You guys were dominant. You had a stretch of period there where you guys probably should have ended up with a cup.
I think you talk to any of that core group, Desjardins, myself, Renberg, all those guys, that that were there for that stretch. 1 or 2 cups is not out of the question that we felt we probably could have had. Didn't work that way. Jersey was obviously a great team at the time, and we ran into them. We had trouble getting over that hump with them.
I remember, sometimes he'd take me to dinner. I'd be like, yes, I get to go have dinner after a game with Johnny LeClair. And I asked you about the 97 Cup Finals, and you guys ran through the East and lost to Detroit. Or 97 or 98, sorry.
97.
So, and you mentioned that was when you guys ran into Lidstrom and Murphy. You're like, these guys sticks. We couldn't get anything by them, right?
It was, I mean, I've never been so frustrated in my life. They they didn't
even hit you.
They didn't engage at all. They just stayed 3 feet away. Lindstrom and Murphy are both so smart, so good with their sticks. They just sat there, waited for you to pass, put the stick in the passing lane. They made it really tough on us. They really did. And so for us, it was frustrating. And then we had some other problems that went wrong too with the things. And, we lost to a team that nobody recognized at the time was a dynasty kind of a team.
Yeah. And it was their first one.
And
people are like,
exactly, where did this come from? So now it's a little easier to kind of accept it. But the way that we were kind of rolling in the playoffs, we thought we had a good thing going into that finals, and it didn't work out.
After winning the cup relatively early in your
Supposed to
career,
happen every year.
Yeah.
It's a great feeling, and it's so disappointing each year when you lose, knowing what you're missing out on. Like anybody, I wish I had another handful in my pocket, but I'm grateful I got one. That's for sure.
We never talked about the celebration in Montreal. That must have been nuts.
We had Odie on. Odie came on.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah, and it was so funny. He kept saying, Wits, and then it came out. He thought I was Ray Whitney the whole time. I was like, no, Odie, we were in Pittsburgh together. But.
Well, it's better than when Darren McCarty didn't even know that there was another host other than him and
Biz asked him 10 questions, didn't even know he was on.
Oh, really?
When he
Okay.
brought up the celebration, he's like, I think it was like a week. I was in a limo for a week.
Certain guys stretched it out longer than others, that's for sure. It's just, it was amazing. The parade is something that it just really hit home. It's surreal going through the streets and just packed with people and screaming and stuff. It was quite a time.
Invincible would probably be the word, where you're like, I could probably murder someone tonight and I would get away with it.
It feels close to that. It really does.
You'd have to sign the cop like a hockey card to arrest you.
Yeah, right, sure.
10 straight in OT. There's never been
wild.
part of anything like that before, right? I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, but it all started from the back end. I mean, when you got a guy in net like Patrick, you have that confidence. I mean, you got that confidence going. Everybody kind of feels it and feeds off it. I mean, he came in LA and said, guys, I don't care how long they're not scoring tonight. And,
wow.
You get a goalie that comes up
way.
and says that. It's kind of
Well, I was going to say is that at some point it kind of becomes a joke in the room. So it's like, all right, boys, we're doing it again. Like at what game is it like an inside joke in the team where guys are being vocal about it, not superstitious?
I don't think anybody wanted to like.
The further you go, it's harder.
You didn't want to even bring it up. It was just one of those things like just let it roll, let it play its course, and don't talk about it and just enjoy the ride.
Was there one guy in the room who was being looser than others though? Like, could you remember one guy?
Nobody pops out to we had some characters like Gilbert Dion would kind of crack jokes and stuff like that, but we had a good core of veterans, and we are in the Stanley Cup Finals, and we're in the Stanley Cup conference finals. So, the joking around was not as much as it would be as, say a regular
So
season.
it peaked at Rossi saying, "You boys, just I'm not letting."
Well, he was
one
dead
in."
serious, and he was.
It's like they're not scoring.
Yeah.
I think that might have been the game he winked at Sandstrom.
No way.
I think so.
That playoffs was memorable. I mean, the Kings that run, they beat Toronto. Gretzky gets the hat trick. Who did you guys beat in the conference finals that year?
We beat the Islanders. The Islanders, that was the year that
Pierre
the
Turgeon
Islanders
Got upset by Pittsburgh.
Turgeon got hurt. That was when Hunter
that
decided,
was that year?
Yeah, that was when he decided to take a run at him.
That might be one of the craziest playoff years of all time. 93, like with Marty McSorley in game 1 or 2. The
stick.
The stick.
Yeah.
That hit on Turgeon. That's wild.
Kevin Stevens
got hurt that year too.
That was the versus the Islanders.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
93.
Yeah.
That year was the best patch they ever wore on jerseys. That was a sick patch. That's a wit fact.
Yeah, so things worked out. That was when Pittsburgh was dominant, and the Islanders knocked them off in 7. And, we were staying in a hotel that night, and everybody's watching. Everybody comes out of the hotel running down the halls like we're playing the Islanders.
We don't have to play Pitt.
I think we would have done well against Pitt. I really do. We had things in pretty good hands the way we were playing, but I think it would have been a little bit more difficult.
So one of the most I ask about this guy because I don't know much about him, but definitely a hero on that Canadiens team, Eric Desjardins. Like, he scored the OT winner in the finals. And what was he like? Because you ended up playing with him in Philadelphia as well.
I did. I played with Eric almost my whole career.
Yeah.
The guy's a rock star. Like, I'm telling you.
Shit.
He doesn't get appreciated enough. Like, he was the reason why that we were so good. Like, the Legion of Doom and all that stuff. We had good players too. Besides, like, our line, there was Roddy, Brenda Moore. There's plenty of other players that were really helpful to making the Flyers that good for that long. But to me, the backbone of everything was Eric. I mean, he controlled everything on the back end, got the puck out of the zone, ran the power play.
Yeah.
He did everything.
A lot of responsibilities.
He did everything. He did everything well. Just a great leader, he formed all those other D that came through, taught them how to play the right
like
way.
Nienema and those guys.
Exactly. He's a guy that, doesn't get the recognition.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you never hear
about.
about Eric Desjardins,
Yeah.
and his career was incredible.
And think about
Incredible.
the responsibilities. You had to groom all these kids, run the power play. That's a lot of pressure, and especially, where he was playing as well.
Another guy you just bring up, Brenda Moore, who I've just heard legendary stories like you got to kick him out of the weight room. Are you surprised at all he's a coach now? Like, could you see that?
You could see Roddy doing something with that. Yeah, absolutely. A guy that's highly focused, really passionate about what he wants. And, I think he's a great coach because he's not going to ask these guys anything he wouldn't do today. Not what he would have done then, what he won't do today, which is, impressive. He's an impressive guy, and it's good to see this.
He looks like a military guy where he's so wound up all the time.
So jacked, too.
Is he a serious guy?
He's serious. Roddy is serious, but Roddy can be loose, and Roddy can be, he's not 24/7 like that.
He actually had one of the legendary lifts of the cup in Carolina. Like, he had one of those, like, he just went nuts as he put it up there. I remember him doing that. What? All right, you chirp me?
He's like, that's probably the only cup party.
Like, I didn't bet on that one. Shit, fuck weird.
That's the only party I didn't sneak into.
Did you sneak into the 93 one?
No, but actually I wanted to bring that up again, the McSorley illegal stick. Where were you during that? What was your perspective on that? We talked to Odie about
the morning
it.
skate, I was over. No, he's convinced that one of our trainers went over and measured his stick. Back then, everybody knew who had a stick and who didn't. It wasn't a secret.
Just nobody called it?
Odie said Cabo
Nobody called it. And what guys would do is the last 5 minutes, you're up by a goal, Jervy, go get me the X. And they get the stick with the X on it. It's a legal curve. They played the whole game. In the last 5 minutes, they'll play the game with so they don't get busted. And
that is nuts.
Certain guys knew, certain guys had it and stuff. And, I don't think Marty's was a secret. So, the whole conspiracy thing and all that stuff, I don't buy that at all.
Yeah, Odie said that actually it was Guy Cavanaugh who noticed it. He's the one who told Damaris to make the
wouldn't
call.
surprise me at all.
It was white tape. It had a black X down the middle of the blade.
I mean, if you guys
he's skating around the last 5 minutes, like, I think he's got it.
If you guys went down 2-0-2 to them, do you think it would have come back? I know it's a hypothetical, but they were a pretty decent team.
It would have made it a lot harder.
Yeah.
It really would have. You lose the first two in your building. That would have been difficult. I still, like I said, I think, it's one of those things when you feel good about your team on a roll like that. I still felt good about our chances. But it would have made a different series.
It's such a ballsy call too. If he happened to switch sticks, then it would have been a penalty.
But I don't know if you remember the measurement. It missed it by about that.
It was illegal by 9 inches.
Yeah. It wasn't close. So.
Was yours legal? That big old hook?
Mine's legal. Yeah.
I remember
legal.
you saying that actually.
Yeah.
Somehow
the stick's more. It's a wedge. Like if you turn it over and look at the bottom, it's pretty straight. That's why I can catch passes on my backhand and everything like that. It's pretty straight.
Humble brag.
It's more of an
one-handed.
Humble brag. You're the best.
Couldn't give this guy a
You're
bad
the fucking
pass.
best, Johnny. Just tire pump you a whole episode for Christ's sake.
Oh shit!
get-
Are you shaming guys
when
who
you
can't
get
catch
muffled.
passes on their backhand, John? Is that what
buddy,
you're
I
doing?
was I wasn't. Don't say I was snapping you muffins. I was ripping you passes. You were like, dude, you pass the puck so well, rookie. I love getting passes
Holy
from you.
shit.
What was your first impression of this donkey?
Dude, he hated my guts. I bet.
I was like, well, what's with the afro? First of all,
I still have it. I think it's just slowly balding.
honestly, it was kind of a blur. Like there was our team.
That year
I
was
know.
ridiculous.
Our team, honestly, was a Stanley Cup championship team on paper, a dynasty team. The only problem is half the fuckers were way past their prime and too old, and the other half was just too young. They just
Was Bugsy
were all
Malone on the
rookies.
team?
Oh,
Bugsy.
yeah.
We had all these rookies. Buggsy's second year, Jackman, Witt, Scuderi.
Orp second year. Colby Armstrong second year.
Colby,
That must have
Max
been
Talbot,
such a fun squad.
Fleury.
We had fun. I mean, with the young guys and stuff, we had a great time.
This is one of my favorite John LeClair stories. So we're at Nakama. Biz, you remember this spot?
Decent sushi.
I will remember this as clear as day. We're sitting around the bar. It was Malone, John LeClair, Orpik, myself. I think Talbot was there, but either way, I know those 4 guys. The fact I even said this makes me sick to my stomach. So we're talking about like how this, we were horrible. I'm like, and he's kind of talking about how you guys are going to get good, what needs to happen, just talking about the team. And I said, if I'm ever an assistant captain of this team, so I said that knowing Crosby would be captain. He wasn't even captain, or he might have, either way. The minute it came out of my mouth, I was like, oh no, John. He goes, what? You think you're going to be an assistant captain on this team? Holy fuck, let's wait for that year Witt becomes an assistant captain. And I was just getting smaller and smaller, and Orp loved it. He's like, you're going to be an assistant captain? It was just like, I just was taught my lesson right there. But I did end up wearing an A. I was trying to get his number, going to send him a picture of it. I got to wear it for a month.
He made you
Anaheim.
your words.
I mean, no, Pittsburgh. You remember that?
I do, actually. But you opened her up for a lot of things.
I opened myself up for a lot. Like you were there when the mouse was in my shoe. You were there for it all.
Yeah, we had. I mean, as much as we sucked, we had a good time.
We had a blast. What's your memory of Ziggy retiring?
It's one of my favorite stories of all time.
So you tell it.
Let's tell from your perspective.
He was nasty.
Oh my god,
Ziggy Palffy.
Ziggy was awesome. I mean, super talented, really good player. Funny as hell too. In practice, not on his tape, he'd just stop and look at you like, "What the hell is that?"
Very cocky.
Only guy that ever chirped Mario.
Awesome. So we're getting killed in Nashville, and he comes across the blue line and gets lit up, hammered. He's like, he was down for a little bit, and he comes to the bench, and I think he might have gone back to the tunnel. I don't think he played the rest of the game.
Darcy Hordachuk.
Yeah. Hammered him. And so we go back that night. Next morning, we got practice at 11. Everybody's sitting around waiting for practice to start, and coach comes in. He's like, it was like, Ziggy's not here. Where's Ziggy? Guys, Ziggy's gone home. He's not going to play anymore for us. He just packed his shit and said, I had enough.
Is that the biggest mic drop of an NHL career?
Dude, I'm pretty sure he was at a point. I think he was at a point per game through those like 30 games or whatever.
Yeah, he was the only one scoring for us too. Yeah. So it was just like, okay, things got a lot worse for us. But
did anyone fight Hordachuk? Was that why he was mad? Because nobody went after him?
No, somebody might have gone after him. Certainly wasn't me. But it was more like he was just like, I don't. That's the type of hit. I made enough money, and
it was a shit show between new coaches coming in and just nothing was working.
Remember Gaunch at the beginning of that year?
I've never seen a worse player in my life.
It was crazy.
He was Sergei Gonchar is an unbelievable player.
Unbelievable.
He was incredible.
And the thing was, he turned into his career took off again. He just took a year off though. Holy shit, he took a year off.
It was like 60 games or 50 games. I think the last 30 games he was incredible, but the beginning I was like, oh my god. And the place was booing him, and he just signed a 5-year big deal, and his I think it was just like shocking to see, but that was kind of how that year went.
Well, I was in the organization then, and he was changing sticks every week. Didn't he go through like 60 dozen sticks that year?
Yep.
He struggled, and then he
was a beast when they won it.
Amazing.
What are your memories of like first seeing Sid, where you're just like, holy shit?
Honestly, when I first saw Sid and watched him, he was everything advertised.
Yeah,
the kid really was. Very impressed with him. Still am. I think everything he's gotten, he's earned. I mean, the kid works so hard. I mean, I remember after practice him just working harder than anybody, trying to get better at everything all the time. The only problem, the downside is, he was a little mouthy his first year, and it kind of cost us because we kept getting penalties. He kept
getting 10s.
He kept getting 10s because the refs were just like, hey, rookie, they're going to show him a lesson kind of thing. But other than that, not a bad word to say about Sid.
96 World Cup, was that the best hockey you ever took part in, ever?
It really is. To me, that group of guys was something special. We had a great team, a great group of guys to hang out with, and then the way it ended up, losing the first game here in Philly, then going winning 2 in Montreal against Canada in their place. it was awesome.
Who was your line for that tourney?
I played with Tony Amonte and Brian Smolinski.
So you were on the ice for Monte's winner?
I was right by the side of the net. Paul Coffey knocked me down. I'm on the ground when it went in.
No way.
Yeah, I can remember it.
Yeah, that was a defining moment for USA Hockey, like 80 and 96, where all of a sudden there was, you, Billy Guerin, Amonte, all these stars in the league that I think late 80s, early 90s, they really weren't, USA didn't have many guys that were like turning into superstars.
It wasn't as many. I mean, then you look at that group that came in with like Leach and Chelios and, some of those guys, Hull.
Any Hull stories?
Hully's the best. You haven't had Hully on?
No, he's our white. Trying. He's probably our white whale at this point.
Really?
Everybody wants him. He said he would come on. And then the last time I texted him, I didn't hear back from him.
Is he still celebrating the cup? Right
well, that's the thing, right? So he's still on the.
How great was him before the games? Just crushed. I'm like, this is legendary stuff.
He should take over for Grapes now.
Yeah.
Is he the most confident player you've ever played with?
He absolutely is, but there's not a guy that backs it more than him than I've ever met in my life. So
what? Just like before a game, just being cocky and boom, boom.
Just not a worry. Like I'm gonna go get 3 guys. Don't worry about it. And just
he'd at least get 2.
And he delivers. It was just, super talented, super confident in himself, and he's one of those guys that's a cocky asshole, but it doesn't bother you. And it's kind of like he's got a way about it that it doesn't come across like it rubs you the wrong way at all. To me,
it's funny.
It is. It's funny, and like I said, it never really.
There's certain guys who can get away with the cocky, funny. Ed Jovanovski was a teammate of mine who I just. Every time he opened his mouth and said something cocky and arrogant, I fucking was in tears.
Yeah,
and usually it was every time I would walk by him on the plane. We glanced over the Gonchar situation. He did have that tough year, but how vital was he to Malkin and him becoming more comfortable with North America?
Well, Gino wasn't there my first year. My second year, for a little bit, Gino was there. I got a good story about that too. But I think it helped a ton. I mean, what I know of Malkin is, he was kind of a shy kid coming in, and Gonch is a real solid human being. Like, I think, to have a guy like that kind of help Malkin come into the league and do that, it must have been a huge help for him. But I'm not that close to the situation that I could say.
What do you remember about Gino?
So we're playing a preseason game. I think it's up in the Newfoundlands or somewhere up, in Eastern Canada somewhere. And he goes behind the net and gives me a great pass. Right down the slot, I'm coming, and I caught it, my skate in a rut, and I do a Bambi, and my legs go flying. I end up going straight by the net, and I clip him, and I take his knee out.
Oh,
sprains his knee, misses the first 2 games of the season because
that was from you.
Yeah, so he missed the opening of the season because I took him out.
No shit, I remember him.
Yeah.
And when he came back, he lit it up. He broke like a record or something. Actually, do you remember in the LA trip when we were told that Bugsy was injured, and we were told that if we won the game in LA, they'd fly Bugsy out for a rookie party, and we got it done. The boys were like, "We need him at rookie party." Remember that?
The team promised you to bring Bugsy in for a rookie party.
They said, "We'll fly Bugsy out for a rookie party if you win this game," and the Pittsburgh Penguins won the game.
Bugsy's reputation was no secret to anybody in that organization, I don't think.
And it was so accurate too. It's like this guy, dude. When Terrian got the job, he had a meeting with Bugsy. He goes, "I ain't here to coach rock stars," and then scratched him for 3 games. He never even coached him. But those are funny days. Funny.
So you guys are in Philly. When is Michelle coming on?
Well, I figured you guys have been going to dinner. I figured you guys been having some dinners.
Yeah, I told them 9:30 I'll be out here.
Why the joke there? Did they not get along?
Well,
I think there's nobody that
hated
hated Whit more in this life than
this guy
Terrian.
hated my guts.
He didn't like him.
He hated my guts. But I remember one time, and actually it was the day of my rookie party. We had a day game against the Rangers. We got smoked 7-1. You heard that song like 7 different times, obviously. I get out, I get dressed. My shoes are spray painted fluorescent blue. And then meetings started with Terrian. He had 12 meetings with 12 different players as we were waiting to go out. And he's just sitting there. He wouldn't have meetings with him. And he's just sitting there. He's like, "Good luck, Whit." I come out like a beaten dog. Army goes in. "Good luck, Army." Johnny Lax just sitting there chirping everyone. That was tough.
Do you keep your finger on the pulse of the league? Watch games games every night, pretty much?
Not every night, but I follow. Yeah.
What do you think of the state of the game today? I mean, the toughness has kind of gone away, but the talent has gone up. Do you wish there was more of a happy medium with the toughness?
The game's great right now. It's entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's fast. It's highly skilled. It's a really entertaining game. To me, having played back a little ways, it's a little tough to watch a little stick check guy, a little tap on the stick and they get a slashing penalty, some of those kind of things.
Yeah, ticky-tack.
It's a little tough to watch. Sometimes it's irritating. I get it. I understand why they're doing it, but I wish they could play on a little bit more. But for the most part, I think the game's striving and it's in a great spot.
What about 02? Gold medal game, Canada-U.S. Their team, one of the greatest teams ever assembled. But you had a great tournament yourself. What do you remember about that 2 weeks?
It was awesome. We had Herbie Brooks as our coach.
Yeah, what was he like?
He was great. He was.
Funny?
Yeah, he was. I mean, a lot of Herbieisms going on. I enjoyed it. I did. I enjoyed having a chance to spend some time with him and get to know him a little bit. We had pretty much the nucleus of the same crowd that we had for the World Cup and the Nagano deal.
That went good.
Yeah. But it was great. I mean, I really thought we had a chance to win the gold.
Yeah.
I thought we were better in Canada the way we were. I thought we had a shot.
You guys were running through that tournament.
We were doing pretty well, and I still.
Well, they got to play.
Shot.
They got to play That was the tournament. They played Belarus, right, or no? Didn't they beat Sweden? Belarus thought there was some big upset, and it made it easier for Canada.
It might have, but I
didn't matter.
I don't
they
know
were that good.
Mattered. I mean, they were good. I mean, it wasn't like it was
I could be
fluke.
thinking of an entirely different tournament. By the way,
You could have. It wasn't your 90 World Cup. The World
Lay
Junior
off the
tournament.
weed.
Exactly.
it was like a World Junior tournament in 2010.
You played in that?
No, I played in two of them.
Okay.
What was retirement like? How hard was that of a transition from having that type of career and all of a sudden it's all done?
For me, it was good. The first 2 years were awesome. About 6 months after I got done playing, we took our family over to Europe and lived in Europe for a year and traveled Europe. Lived in Italy for 6 months and traveled to Europe for the other 6 months. So
really?
I spent a year doing that with my 3 kids and my wife, and it was awesome. It was a great experience. Something that I'll never forget. And then you come back and you set into the days get long. You got to have something to do, and it's nice to be on your own schedule and be retired or whatever. But not having anything to do some days it drags on you, and it's kind of boring. So.
Well, Europe. Where was your favorite spot? Where do you always go back to now that you've been there?
I mean, we lived in Italy for 6 months at a house, and it was cool. We were in Tuscany region, and it was really awesome. We were there long enough that we got to meet people and know some people in the town. It was a small town of probably maybe 300 people, and it was a cool experience. They all knew who the Americans were, and
did they care that you played hockey, or did they?
They had no clue.
They didn't even know.
No, they didn't know what hockey
They're like,
was.
who's this giant?
So that's nice.
It was awesome. I mean, my daughter got confirmed, and my son got his first communion over there, and we were part of the community. It was awesome. So we enjoyed that. The other countries visiting stuff. To me, Switzerland's just beautiful. The towns, the way of life in Switzerland. It's something.
So 6 months in Italy, do you think you can make homemade pasta? Like, are you legit?
I did not do that. If you do that and you're good at it, then they expect it all the time.
That's what I said about scoring goals. That's why I didn't do it. They said Dennis Bomby told me that. He said, Biz, you start doing it too often, they're going to start expecting it. I said, okay, I'm shutting her down.
How bad was the last couple? You had real bad back problems, if I remember correctly, right?
I had some back issues. The thing that really got me in the end, I think it was my second to last year in Philly. I went to go run Bergman in Pittsburgh, and he ducked. And when he did, I went flying the boards, and I broke my shoulder, the knob of that bone. Mm-hmm. And so I was out for a while with that, but it never felt right after. I didn't like it wasn't ever loose. I never felt like I could move or do things the way I want.
Never felt the same.
Just never really felt the same. The back issues, obviously, between getting fat and older. I mean,
join the club.
the back
Bugsy.
the back slows you down a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
And I noticed coming back from my back injuries that I was a little slower. Like couldn't jump and move. That first step was not like couldn't go like that because it had to grab a little bit, but. Everybody's got injuries.
Right.
It's just part of it. It's hard to detect. Is it because you're 36 years old or is it because you're banged up?
Right. Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah.
But then I look at a guy like Rex, and guy plays till ever. Chelly be playing now if they'd let him.
Oh, seriously.
But,
Do you ever you stay in touch with Rex?
So, I see these guys once in a while out on the road and stuff, and I say hi to them, catch up a little bit. So it's always good to see those guys. Yeah,
That's awesome.
Any weird hobbies you got that you like what, maybe woodworking or some shit? Well, I mean, like you said, you got to occupy your time. Like, I mean, for you, it's probably not the money because you made a boatload of it. It's you got to find out your passion.
Something to do.
You got to find something to do.
Yeah, as far as like hobbies, I just to me it's fun to be busy. Like I enjoy doing things around the house. Especially outdoors. The yard work, the typical kind of bullshit stuff. Like
You're just like a full blown like old guy. You just love raking the leaves and
no, nothing better than getting the chainsaw out.
I could see
Anybody can rake leaves. You need a toy to play with if you're gonna.
Are you into cars or anything?
Not really into the car thing. Not collecting things. I'm not like artistic where I'm going to go play a guitar and do that kind of stuff. So, like I said, it was good when I retired because when I was playing, I didn't get a chance to see my kids a whole lot or see them play hockey or my daughter play tennis as much as I wanted to. So when I was done, I got a chance to do a lot of that and to be around quite a bit. So pretty fortunate that I had that opportunity.
Do you have like a part-time job now, or are you just completely retired, enjoying it?
he fixes chainsaws on the side.
Yeah.
Hey, no,
other than the
I
shop
envy you.
I got going on in my backyard, the last 9 years I've been doing consulting work with an agency. We represent players for financial management. So I've been around the game like that, with us representing some guys, and it's been fun. We deal with a lot of U.S. college kids, and we represent everybody, obviously, but I would say 80 to 85% of our kids are U.S. college kids.
Any desire to work in a front office someday, or that not your speed?
It would be fun, but if the opportunity came, obviously it would be something I would consider. But
you don't want to scout for 5 years.
I think like anything, you got to put your time in.
Right.
So it would have to be like what's the end game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind working. That's not an issue. If you want come here and we see the end game of you progressing to a certain area, yeah, I'd be interested. But we're still ways away from that.
Last question here: your kids any good? You got any future NHLers in there?
I don't know about future NHLers, but my kids were good. They could play. My one son's playing at Tufts right now. And,
is he?
Oh yeah.
Are you go to Boston a lot?
Yeah.
Dude, thanks for the phone call.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's why.
That's why.
So you actually did really hate him.
Ducked into a hotel probably. He said, I can't see that clown.
That's why you never came to Martha's Vineyard for one. We made that clear.
Fair enough.
And then my other son, he's at the University of Miami, Ohio, and he's just a student down there enjoying life. So 7 to
3 girls to guys ratio. I heard there.
You could ask him. I'm sure he'd tell you. I'm sure he's got it right off the top of his head.
All right, my last question. Any one goal stick out to you? 410 of them or whatever it was. You have any one that you just remember so clearly?
Well, the first one, obviously.
Who was it on?
Yeah.
Troy Gamble.
Don't know who that is.
That's old school.
It's good thing you don't.
What team? All right.
You know what team?
He played for a couple different teams, didn't he?
Name one.
Toronto, maybe?
Vancouver.
Okay.
So
Canada.
Yeah.
Close.
Somebody asked a question on Twitter, and they said, "If who's the guy who drove the DeLorean in Back to the Future?"
Doc.
Doc Brown, 1.21 gigawatts.
Okay.
He already knows all the movie references. If you could hop in a DeLorean and go back and either watch any game or play any game you've been a part of, what one would it be?
Play it again?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, it'd be Game 5 of the Stanley Cup
Cup
93.
winning game. Yeah, that's a
Just to
no-brainer.
sit there and
That's a
suck it all
no-brainer.
in again, be awesome. And then probably be that 96 World Cup, sit there in Montreal and take that one in again. Be fun.
Especially because you played there too. Fuck.
I'm gonna put you on the spot. Richter in '96 or War in '93.
Wow. Wow.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
come on.
I told him I was putting him on the spot.
We're gonna slap in the face here.
Exactly. Ricky was the reason we were where we were.
Yeah.
There was no question about it. And the same thing with Patrick. I mean, Patrick's the biggest reason why we have a cup, but it's tough to pick. I mean,
Richter was incredible that World Cup. Well, I got one last one. What's the most underrated part of Vermont that people don't know about?
St. Albans. Everybody thinks Burlington, and it's St. Albans.
I never been up there.
I mean, come on. Everybody's like, "Oh, Burlington's great." I mean, you go in the second best city there. What the hell?
All right, well, John LeClair, what a guy. Thank you so much. And if I'm ever an assistant captain of this team, I appreciate you very much coming on, dude.
You'll be captain one day. Keep trying it.
He's captain of this podcast.
Well, we hope you guys enjoyed that interview. And once again, thank you to Can-I Brands for their support of the Spittin Chiclets podcast and the ECHL Player Relief Fund. Make sure to check out canibrands.com and enter promo code BIZ30 for 30% off all products site-wide. And as mentioned on previous interviews, if you guys want to head to the ECHL website and or social channels, there's a GoFundMe set up for the Player Relief Fund. And we wish them and all of you the best.